So, why invest in the stock market? Today I'm going to be answering that question in two parts. In part one, I'm going to be taking you guys through my personal reasons for investing here in Australia. And in part two, I'm going to be showing you guys a tool called the compound interest calculator. So you guys can estimate exactly how much money you can generate through investing. So, let's begin. So, why do you need to invest? The number one main reason why you need to invest is a thing called inflation. So, what is inflation? For those who don't know, inflation is the rise in the cost of living through the rising prices of all goods and services. So what that also means is all the money that you have saved up is gradually losing its purchasing power over time because things are getting more expensive every year. Now, as you guys can see, inflation will slowly and surely chip away at your savings year after year. So that's my number one main reason to invest, is I'm investing to beat inflation. So my next reason to invest is low interest rates. Now in Australia, interest rates are at an all-time low, meaning that the money you have stored in a bank won't grow and it won't generate interest over time. So after fees and inflation, you're actually paying the bank to store your money for you. Now I should point out that some banks are better than others for this. I found that the big four banks are really poor for interest rates on savings accounts, but there are some online banks that are better. I personally bank with ME Bank here in Australia. It's an online bank that offers, I believe, 3% interest on a savings account. So while I'm choosing my investments and I have my money sitting in that bank account, it's not losing money due to inflation. It's not gaining anything, but it's not losing money either. Now my last reason why you need to invest is the superannuation system. So what is the super system? The superannuation or 401k system is a concept where your employer pays a percentage of your wage to you in this fund in your name, and you can't touch that fund until you retire. The idea is that over time you will build up this fund until you hit retirement age, and then you can take that fund out as either a lump sum or you can have that paid to you weekly, fortnightly, monthly, just like a wage. Now this sounds like a fantastic idea on paper, but when you really crunch the numbers, you'll see that this isn't really a stable source of income in your twilight years. So let's have a look. Okay guys, we're here on the Can Start Australia website, and we're going to take a look at what the experts say the average superannuation balance should be to retire comfortably. So the Association of Super Funds of Australia estimates that the average superannuation balance required to achieve a comfortable retirement is 640,000 for a couple and 545,000 for a single person. And that's assuming they withdrew their super as a lump sum and received a pension as well. Now, we're going to take a look at what the average super balance actually is for Australians hitting that retirement age. Now, we're on the AMP Australia website and they have some really interesting figures. So, they have the figures for all the Australians aged between 20 to 24 all the way to 65 to 69 to see what the average balance actually is. So, for 65 to 69-year-old women in Australia, the balance is 313,000 on average. And for men, it's $384,000 on average. So as you can see, both of them aren't even hitting nearly close enough to that $545,000 amount needed to have a comfortable retirement. And when they say comfortable, they're also accounting for things like paying top-level private health insurance, a mid-range car, electronics, and the occasional travel. So now what we're going to do to break this wide open is I'm going to take the amount that they estimate you should have for a single person to have a comfortable retirement, and I'm going to break down those figures. Now, we'll say that you retire at 65 years old and live to be 85 years old. So you live 20 years and you need to make that 545 grand last 20 years. If you live to be 85, your average wage will be $27,250 for an average weekly wage of $524. Now, if you want private health insurance and you want to travel and you want a nice car and you want electronics, $524 a week is not a very comfortable wage to achieve that. And that's the biggest problem with the super system, is that even if you hit the amount that the experts say is required to have a comfortable retirement, that's still not enough. And when you factor in inflation as well, and that 545,000 is going to have a lot less purchasing power in 20 or 30 years than it does now. So as you guys can see, the super system really isn't your friend with helping you out later in life. Along with inflation and along with interest rates, those three reasons combined are the reason that you need to invest. Otherwise your money will just gradually lose its value year after year after year. So guys, those are my three main reasons for investing here in Australia, and those three reasons all go hand in hand with each other. The superannuation system doesn't save enough money for you to retire comfortably. The inflation rate is going to chip away at that fund anyway, so by the time you retire, that fund will be worth a lot less in purchasing power. And with the interest rates being so low, there's no safe haven for you to store your money where it will gain interest. So how does investing solve the problem? Well, to answer that, we're going to take a look at a term called compound interest, which is something Einstein described as the eighth wonder of the world. So, what is compound interest? Simply put, compound interest is your investment generating interest and your interest generating interest. Now, this is much better to explain with an example for beginners. So, for this example, we're going to have person A and person B. Person A and person B both have $100 to invest, but person A is going to store his money in a bank where he generates 10% simple interest, and person B is going to put his $100 in an investment fund where he gets 10% compound interest every year. So for this example, we'll look at person A first. So person A gets 10% of $100, which is $10. At the end of year 2, he gets a 10% return of $100 again, which is $10. So after 20 years of getting a $10 return every year, he has $200 plus his original $100 investment. So he has $300. Now we'll take a look at person B. In year 1, person B also gets a $10 return because he has a 10% return on his $100. In year 2, this is where it gets interesting. He gets 10% of his $100 plus the $10 interest he got from year 1. So now he gets 10% of $110, which is $11. At the end of year 3, he gets 10% of his $100, the $10 return, and the $11 return he just got from year 2. So now he gets 10% of $121. So after 20 years, his $100 is now worth $672.75, which is more than double the simple interest. So that really is the power of compound interest. Simply put, it is your interest generating interest as well as your investment generating interest on top of that. Now, how does this relate to real life investing? So guys, to explain how this relates to real world investing, I'm going to take a look at a tool called the compound interest calculator. It's a tool that allows you to estimate exactly how much you can generate with your investments over time. Okay guys, so we're here on the computer and we're going to take a look at a tool called the compound interest calculator, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to use it. So to find that out, go to Google and type in compound interest calculator. In Australia, the first thing that comes up is the moneysmart.gov website, so click on that. And this is what comes up. So I'm going to take you through each individual section first and then we'll get into the examples. So initial deposit is the amount of money that you've set aside to purchase your original investment. For example, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. Regular deposit is the amount you will continue to invest every set time frame of your choosing. And the deposit frequency is where you set that frequency. So it could be either every day, every week, every month, or every year. The compound frequency is how often your investments will compound. So the most common thing to put is annually because you will get an average annual return. The number of years is the amount of years that you invest. And as I'll explain in a sec, the more time you invest, the better, because that's how you really let that compound interest really snowball into an absolutely massive amount. The average interest rate is the average interest rate you get every year. So the investment interest rate that we're going to aim for this example is 10%. When it comes to investing, there are two main strategies that most people seem to follow. The first strategy is you have an initial deposit of whatever amount you've got set aside, and you just leave it there and never touch it, and you let it sit there for 20, 30, 40 years until you hit retirement. Now I'm going to show you guys a different way of doing this, where instead of investing an initial deposit and leaving it sit there, you continually invest a certain amount of money every set time frame, and you come back no matter what and you put that money into the market. Now this is akin to saving money in your savings account, where every week you get your $1,000 paycheck, you take $250 and you just put it into savings and don't look at it. And I'm going to show you guys the difference between these two types of investing strategies. So guys, as you can see, $1,000 just left to compound for 15 years at 10% will get you roughly $4,000. So I'm going to put the initial deposit at 0, and I'm going to put the regular deposit at roughly $500 a month. After 15 years, that $500 monthly deposit has compounded to roughly $190,000. So after 15 years, you've invested roughly $90,000 of your own money, and it has generated $100,000 in interest. Now I'm going to highlight the time thing again, you guys. If we leave this for 5 more years, see what happens. So remember that $190,000. If you left your deposit for an extra 5 years, it is nearly doubled again to $343,000. and you've only invested another $30,000 of your own capital, but it has generated another $100,000 of compound interest on top of that. Okay guys, for this last example, I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can achieve financial freedom in your 30s. So for this example, I'm going to say you're 18 years old and you're an 18-year-old with a good job and you make roughly $1,000 a week, meaning that you can roughly set aside $250 a week to invest $1,000 a month. Now, if you put that into a fund and you got a 10% return and you left it for 15 years, you could retire at 33 with $381,000 at 33 years old. Now, what I highlighted about time before is if you can hold out for another 5 years, so instead of retiring at 33, you retire at 38. And instead of having $380,000, if you left it for 5 more years, you could retire with $687,000 at 38 years old. Now, if you can hold out for another 5 years, one more 5-year term to retire at 43 years old with a whopping $1,180,000. So guys, you could retire at 40 with over $1 million just by investing $250 a week and never looking at it again. Just the exact same as you would put it in the bank account and not look at it and keep it for a so-called rainy day. This is how you build your rainy day fund, by investing in the market and letting it compound over time and letting it sit there for as long as possible. And if you can stretch it for another 5 years, that 1 million could be nearly 2 million just with 5 more years. So guys, that really is the power of compound interest, and that's how it works. Now, you guys can have a play around with this yourself and crunch some numbers, see exactly how much you can set aside to invest, and see what you can come up with, and set a goal for yourself to retire at a certain age with a certain amount and make it happen. Now, before you invest in anything, it's good practice to sit down with your budget and see exactly how much you can put aside every month to invest towards the future. But you never ever want to cripple yourself financially by investing everything you have, because the absolute last thing you want is to invest absolutely all of your savings or absolutely all of your money and then have an unforeseen circumstance occur and you're forced to sell your shares to pay a bill. So you're actually stopping the compound train in its tracks. Say, you know, if you invest in 5 years later or 10 years later, you need that money to do something and you have to take that money out. You have to start from scratch again. So it's absolutely important to leave that money in there and never touch it, and only invest money you don't need. Invest money that you would just put into savings anyway. Okay guys, we'll just do a quick summary of everything we covered because I know I've given you guys a lot of information today. So guys, there are 3 main reasons you need to invest: inflation, low interest rates, and the superannuation system. And those 3 are not your friend. They will slowly but surely destroy your wealth over time. And the main reason you should invest is to take advantage of the power of compound interest. As Einstein said, those who understand it earn it, those who don't understand it pay it. Guys, if you've watched the video this far, thank you guys so much for your support. I'm a beginner YouTuber and I started this channel for 2 main reasons. 1, to show you guys that it is possible to become financially free through investing, even with no financial background or training or no qualifications in finance or business whatsoever. And to be able to take you guys on that journey with me to show you that it is possible, because I am just a regular guy. I dropped out of school and I only just got into investing in my early 20s. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And 2, to be able to help you guys understand the basics so you can begin your own investing journeys, because when I first started there is so much information out there and I was convinced that to be able to invest efficiently I had to go to university or I had to buy an online course, and that's just not true. There is a plethora of information out there, especially in libraries or on things like YouTube, and I did most of my learning through YouTube. So I want to show you guys that it's possible to learn how to invest for free. And what I eventually want to do is to create a community of like-minded individuals, guys like you, where we can get into a Discord and we can talk all things investing, we can talk strategies, ideas, all that stuff. So if that's something you guys are interested in, leave a comment down below. So if I've convinced you and you're sitting there going, mate, how do I even get a 10% return, or how do I even invest in the stock market? Don't worry, I have a full step-by-step guide coming on how to invest for complete beginners. I'm going to be taking you guys through my entire process of how I choose a stock, how I chose a broker to open an account with, and how to make your first investment so you can begin your investing journey and start compounding all the way to financial freedom. If you've watched this video all the way to the end, thank you guys so much for your support. It really means a lot. If you found this video useful or if you learned something, please give that like button a whack because it really helps support the channel. And if you want to be notified when future videos are coming out, hit that subscribe button, give the little bell a tap, and you'll be notified when I release any future videos. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.